Hey, I think we're ready to vlog our hearts out, gentlemen. Are we on the air live on YouTube? Us and 400,000 other people, but I'm not sure how many astronomy shows are on the air these days. I got to tell you, there's a lot of literary shows, but welcome aboard the SBAU Astro Hour. My name is Baron Ron Herron of radio fame, and doggone, I'm part of this group, even though we've been relocated to our homes and out of the beautiful Museum of Natural History. We have a once a week on Zoom vlog, if you will, or podcast, which I think is called SBAU Hour or Astro Hour on YouTube. Welcome aboard. We're going to meet the members of the club here in a minute, what I call the Brain Trust. My name's Baron, as I say. Quickly, let me run down some headlines, what we're going to try to talk about this hour. A little late, but that means we can go late. And hope Tim Crawford's watching. He may want to let us know something by logging in on the bottom.
He just signed in.
Yeah, did he sign in? He's on. Yeah. How you doing there, Tim? Wish we could talk to you. This hour, we may or may not be getting to these topics. There's a lot to talk about. The Earth's crossing the path of a comet. In fact, we got 2 meteor showers this week or this month. Might get to where our home galaxy is listed or sitting in. And one of the bigger clusters of the universe is called Laniakea. That was sent to us by our illustrious president. I'll introduce you to. And from the August newsletter, just put out by Mr. Whittemore, slideshows for the campers at Lake Kachuma, Saturday the 7th and the 28th, about 8 o'clock. And we'll be at Carp State Beach Saturday the 11th and the 21st, about 8 o'clock. And we got one going on at Lake Lopez. Talk to our outreach coordinator about that in a few minutes. We also have Bruce Murdoch's report coming up from West Camino Cielo, way up by Reagan's old ranch.
Where he above his ranch.
Above the ranch?
Oh, yeah, way above.
I've been on that ranch, man. It's right there at the top of the hill, above the Circle Bar B. Let's meet everybody. President of the club, Santa Barbara Astronomical Unit for the 4th season, Jerry Wilson. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How's your beautiful wife, Pat Forgy, there?
Everybody's good here.
Okay. We have Mr. Outreach Coordinator himself doing some much outreach as you can, Chuck McPartland. And your wife, Pat, has got all those stacks of merchandise for sale in the garage and can't move a damn bit of it, can't you?
Well, we actually sold some. Or, we think. We got an inquiry from somebody in New York State that wants a sweatshirt and a blanket and some other goodies.
Wow.
I've got all that stuff. I even have a patch I sewed on one of my shirts. Does she and you attend those beach and lakeside parties this month? So, yeah, and you take along that stuff, right?
No.
Oh, you don't? So
no, that would fill up the car.
I know, but we might get some new members out of those campers out there. Let's meet the man behind the newsletter, former Westmont College beloved science instructor and editor, Tom Whittemore.
Morning, everybody. Hi.
Maureen is your wife. And all those lovely ladies behind us. Tom Totten, whose wife is Suzanne, is running the show and got us on, but that's all right. He's awesome. We got a letter about him in a minute. I'm going to read for you if you don't mind. Tom is our webmaster, technical wizard. And how do people get on board? What's our big main website?
SBAU.org.
There you go. You also send out, I believe, not only the hook in and become part of the Zoom message to us 6, but you send another email out to everybody in the club. Did they get that other one, that second one?
Right. So they all see this morning's show coming on and how to get on, and then also for Tuesday evenings for our telescope workshop.
Okay. And Suzanne, is she doing her artwork?
Yes, she is.
Okay, but your power's off today or something again, I guess.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. They didn't shut it off by the time I had left, but there were some signs at the end of the street saying it was coming. So
most of you guys live out where the seeing is pretty nice. But the last guy we're going to introduce you to is a longtime stalwart member of our club, the Astronomical Unit, whose wife is Bonnie. Bruce Murdoch. Good morning, sir.
Hello. Where's my...
And in between running the Santa Barbara Theater Organ Society, you have a chance to take your telescopes way up on the hill there, West Camino Cielo, way at Refugio Beach. What was it, Friday night? You went up there?
Oh, yeah, we've been going up. Chuck Schuler and I and friends, varying number of people go you have to get away from the lights of Santa Barbara to get away from the light pollution.
Yeah.
So the closest is Herron Road, which is, I don't know, about a 10-mile round trip from my house. But it's only at 700 feet. It's on the far side of Rancho Embarcadero.
Huh.
The next closest one is East Camino Cielo. You go up 154 to East Camino Cielo and go up a ways. And Tom knows exactly where that is because we set up to photograph the last solar eclipse there.
Right.
But you're overlooking the lights of Santa Barbara, and if it's that's at West Camino Cielo. That's way out there. So now you don't get the light pollution is a lot less. Unfortunately, last Friday, even though it was a very mild wind where we were, there was a lot of upper atmosphere turbulence. And so wide-angle photographs like the one you're showing, that doesn't much matter. But you try to get Jupiter or especially Saturn. Saturn was just a wiggly mess. I looked at the video I took of that, and there are some frames that are clear somewhat, but most of them are not, and it comes and goes. So that's what turbulence does to you.
Uh-huh.
What do you have
On that picture, that is so clear out there that you can even see the lines connecting stars in the constellations.
Well, I put those in, one of the reasons when I take this is a 105-degree field of view horizontally, and I have difficulty imaging or not, mentally imaging the various constellations. And when I finally find them, like the teapot, I put in, very light lines just to outline them so that when you're showing it to somebody else, you can say, okay, well, here's the teapot. And then they can see it because the lines are there. And then Scorpius is down below. Unfortunately, I have some other pictures of Scorpius taken earlier where you could see the whole constellation. But by this time, it had actually, this is like 10 o'clock in the evening. Here.
There's the whole one.
Right. It was quite. It was impressive.
How do you get the lines on that if you took that picture?
Photoshop.
Oh, really?
There's a big button you can press in the sky too.
Mr. Webmaster Tom Totten, is all this archived so our members can go on and see them?
No, not really, but now they'll see it on the video, of course. They can always see it here.
Okay. And Mr. Schuler, what with you? Is he a member in good standing of the club?
Yes, he's a member, right.
Okay. I probably met him.
He's got a 20-inch Explore Scientific Dob.
But Crawford Tim Crawford.
He's ordered pardon?
Okay. Tim Crawford runs our Tuesday night workshops. That's still happening, right? That's also online tomorrow night, right?
Yes.
Anybody?
As far as I know.
Yeah.
All right. And he's on.
Now, is that a composite shot that you got the moon, the Galilean moons, and the planet?
That's the only way you can do it.
Okay.
I mean, if you expose for the moons, Jupiter is just a big white dot.
Yeah.
And if you expose for Jupiter, you can't see the moons.
Now, you usually have some cleverness, and I always just was wondering if you found a way to do that with just a single shot, but no.
Well, yes and no. Unfortunately, I was storing a JPEG, which doesn't have all that much dynamic range. I can put my camera into they call it TIFF mode, and it's 14-bit digital, so you get much bigger dynamic range. And if you don't overexpose Jupiter, then you can expand the background. You can go way down and look at all kinds of stuff.
I don't think I've ever seen a picture taken by an amateur telescope that shows the bands on Jupiter. That one.
Bob Richard took a wonderful picture of Jupiter. I can share it with you. It's much clearer but he took like 500 pictures and selected the best 7. And then he put those together in, I think, Registax. So he got a very crisp, clear picture of Jupiter. I took video of Jupiter also, of Saturn, I'm sorry, with the intent of splitting it apart in individual frames. But my camera saves it as a .mov, and the software wants an MPEG, and I've got to find some software that'll convert one to the other before I can do that.
Would it be safe to say, gentlemen, that Saturn is about twice as far away from us as Jupiter.
Yeah.
It would be in the halfway point.
It's about right.
So that's why you get a little jiggly, because we can see the ears that are the ring. You ever see the spot?
On
Or
Jupiter?
You ever take the picture of the spot? Can you see it on your photo?
I've seen it. I've seen it in the 8-inch at Westmont.
Is that
You know,
right?
you have to wait for it to come around into view. Right now, in this picture, it's over on the back side.
Right.
We get to see
Last
it.
night was particularly beautifully clear. We live about 600 feet above sea level here, and the Milky Way was just screaming through. In fact, it was so bright, I had to put my sunglasses on.
Oh, come on.
Multiple sunglasses.
You
It
know,
was
if you wanted to, Whittemore, you could read us a couple of those captions if you figure out a way to call up, or you have the printed version of our August newsletter. Good stuff there.
I mean, yeah, Tom's got the newsletter. He should have it. Have you posted it, Tom?
Yeah, it's posted. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to see those, it's for me one of the more enjoyable things about the newsletter, besides obviously putting Jerry's stuff up.
This
And
little article.
yeah, his really nice articles month after month after month. It's just noodling with the captions, and I always put an outreach thing on the front. And I inherited that from Ruben Gutierrez a long, long time ago. He said it's a good thing to do, so I've done it. And so there's a shot, an old shot, and I picked these from, again, Tom's archive, Tom Totten, because he often takes wonderful photos of people's expressions, their facial expressions.
Yeah.
And so it's really easy to feed in something crazy. Okay. And in fact, you see here, there's Bruce Murdoch.
On the
Right.
left.
That's odd. I could have sworn that the battery was fully charged when I set up. He's just got this confused look. And then there's what's his face? Chris Larson. Greetings, Earthlings. I come in peace. I think there's one or two more, Tom, if you want to scroll just for fun. These are just a lot of fun for me to do. And I'm really into this poet right now, Ted Kuzer. I heard him speak here many years ago, and he's really a wonderful poet. And there you go.
I was going to read
Chuck.
the poem from last month.
Yeah. I found this crazy hat in our fireplace on the morning of December the 26th.
Okay.
That's Chuck. And then, of course, always to point to Tim and that 8-inch mirror that he's suffering through. This fellow used to come to the workshop. He was just here briefly. I can't remember his name. He was a wonderful guy. And he and his wife had just had a baby, and he moved back to, I think it was India. I'm pretty sure it was India.
It's Indian.
Oh, you're talking about Shrikant.
Yeah. Wonderful guy. He came to about 3 workshops because he wasn't here very long. And of course, he's pointing out to Tim that he's pretty
Lost you.
Oops.
bad. So painful joke for Tim in these days.
Is the
Anyway,
newsletter,
it's fun to do.
is the newsletter only online right now?
Yeah, it's only electronic because they don't print paper copies.
But you should get a copy emailed to you, Baron.
Oh, I get an email, but I used to also pick it up at the meetings at Ferron Hall.
Yeah.
And so we stopped doing that. I'm not sure we'll ever meet again in person, gentlemen, the way things look.
Yeah.
That road you were talking about, Bruce?
Ferron Road.
Ferron? Is
Yeah.
that the same name as our hall, the little hall in the
No.
back?
No, it's Ferren, and our hall is Ferran.
No. It's Farren, Ferron Road.
Ferron Road, yeah.
That's what
Right.
Yeah,
And
it's
so-
quite a nice climb for a cyclist too, and very bumpy going down.
But our little,
Oh, I've ridden it many times. It's fun going down. You don't have to pedal.
first I've ever heard of it.
Well, no, it's very bumpy. It's really beat up. So
Well, maybe we'll end up there again someday, maybe not. I will say
it's
this.
also a place for a lot of friends of mine who do a lot of birding. Go to see, soaring birds like red-tailed hawks and whatnot. It's a great place for the soaring birds.
Yeah, people with radio controlled gliders used to go there and fly them because of the wind pattern.
Yeah.
I will say this about Jerry's article. It might be a future topic, gentlemen. The CERN collider has identified a new particle. Is that what you wrote about, Jerry?
Not, yeah, but they haven't identified the new particle. They are suspecting that they've done it. You have to have the data with a certain level of uncertainty. What is it, 5 sigma, I think it is, before you can claim that it's there. And they're only at 3 sigma or 4 sigma or something. So they've got a ways to go. And when they do this, they frequently get, not frequently, but they occasionally get hints that there's something there. And as they gather more and more information, it disappears.
I see.
So it's not a discovery yet, but people are starting to get excited because it's not flaking out.
Right.
But the CERN is in Europe.
Yes.
Switzerland.
That's the
Yeah.
one with 17 miles and a big circle, I guess. We also have a couple other notes, and I'd like to read a quick email we got, but just a quick note from Mr. Outreach and occultation expert Chuck. ISS is going overhead early in the morning hours, right? This week, pretty much. Space station.
No, it's making evening passes this week.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
thought-
tonight there's one. There are 2 of them actually tonight. One at 8:26 and one at 10:03. Basically from the northwest to the east for the first one, and then west northwest to west southwest for the second one. And the really brightest pass is going to be on the 4th. So Wednesday night, it's going to go basically overhead from 8:28 to 8:35. So.
Wow.
I swear I thought it said pre-dawn hours. In fact, I wrote that down, but it could be any time, I guess. Every hour and a half it goes around the
Well,
Earth.
no, you have to have it lit by the sun, Ron. So it has to be pre-dawn or just post-sunset.
Oh, yeah, right, to be seen. And it's hours. It's not that little when the Chinese have up there.
Right.
Incidentally, you probably didn't see it. I'm not sure how many of you gentlemen have cable, but 60 Minutes ran that segment again on NASA's Perseverance rover and the Ingenuity, a drone, helicopter on Mars. And I just picked up one little item I thought I'd pass on to you. When they flew that thing at JPL on the Earth, they used the double rotors at 400 RPM, but on Mars, it has to go about 6 times that speed because the air is only 1%, or the atmosphere on Mars.
Yeah.
Okay, let me read this quickly. This was received by, I guess, most of us overnight. Good morning, Jerry and Baron. Hope you're enjoying your summer so far. I just wanted to thank the SBAU for putting together your collection of links and information, which means this should go to Tom, our incredible webmaster. As a library media specialist, the lady writes, I have been handed the task of updating our center's reference guides with the help of some student volunteers. And with the summer season in full swing, can't believe it's August already, she said. We are currently working on our stargazing and astronomy guide. Your page was a big help. Thank you very much.
Answering machine.
There it is. Warmly signed, Mrs. Lou Ann Taylor, a local librarian, who we're going to have to conscript to become a member, except we're only members on the air online these days. Is that the letter, or is that what you got for them, Tom?
This is Chuck has provided all these links on it on the events page and put it in a new link about citizen science as well. But we do have a separate links page as well that has been established since Paul, so we can click on links and see a lot of links that way as well.
Do you know where she's the librarian? What library is the main one downtown?
No, I don't know her name at all.
Okay. Well, maybe someone will. Shall we, real quickly from Chuck McPartland, have you been occulting any stars behind asteroids recently?
No,
No?
not in the last week. There's some coming up this week, but nothing too probable.
Well, if we could do the nightly, part of it is Monday the 2nd, which is today, and most of it, or some of it happened already. A great day to view Saturn. Actually, a great night. Let me get my little light out here so I can see what the heck I'm reading. Okay, here's what's happening. The ring planet is rising as the sun sets tonight, climbs 15 degrees by 10 o'clock tonight, glows near magnitude 0. That's pretty bright, I guess. 0, the lower it is, if there's a number above that, it's a little dimmer all month. And it's in Capricorn, the sea goat. nearly even with the dimmer magnitude 4 Theta Capricornus, or Corn. The planet is 19 arc seconds. Is that the two little lines
Yes.
wide?
Arc seconds.
Okay, and rings are 42 arc seconds across. There. Okay, that's not the picture that Bruce took. He'd love to get one
No,
like it.
turbulence just ate my picture.
I understand that. I also know they have a program, don't they? A software that'll compensate somehow, give you the best of all the jiggles. You
No,
don't
well,
have that in your
Go ahead.
unit. Well,
And it's
let's
always,
finish this up. And polar region, South Polar region, you might be able to see visible, able to make out clouds on Saturn, even though it's twice as far as Jupiter, easier on Jupiter. So just look 36 arc seconds east to find the magnitude 15, or is it 12? I think it's 12. Yeah, 12 degree moon Enceladus.
it's
And
magnitude 12, Ron, not degree.
Yeah.
Oh, it's magnitude? Oh, yeah, there's no little
Yeah.
zero there. I'm sorry. In between the planet and the moon, you can see a star as bright as Enceladus, but you say it's moving in close, I guess.
Yeah, but Ron, by the time it rises for us, that stuff's written for the East Coast. By the time
Oh,
it rises for us, that star is going to be pretty much right next to Enceladus, like right above it, instead of in between it and the rings. Because the moon's orbit, they're moving.
yeah, right.
But one interesting thing for when Saturn's near opposition that's not in that blurb
Mhm.
is there's something called the Seeliger effect. And that makes the rings look much brighter than normal. It's a case where there's backscatter from the particles in the rings that comes directly back. And since Saturn's at opposition, the sun is on the opposite side of the sky, it scatters the light efficiently straight back, and the rings look quite a bit brighter than normal when you look at it near opposition. So for like the next week, it's going to be having that effect that makes it look brighter.
What would the moons be that are equivalent to the big four around Jupiter? Are there a bevy of 3 or 4 or 5 that you
Yeah.
always see
The
around?
biggest one for Saturn, of course, is Titan.
Yeah.
Oh,
which is
yeah.
a reddish moon.
Yeah. And there's Rhea, Dione, and Tethys are the next 3 big ones.
Yeah. Which you
Is
can see the names hovering there, but the spot that they're representing is difficult to see. Mimas is down there, Tethys, Dione. Yeah.
could a Bruce with his telescope be able to see Titan? Even
Oh,
on
you
Oh,
can
yes,
see
easily.
Titan.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah,
see
that's
Titan in binoculars, Ron.
That's a cakewalk.
And we got something, a little probe sitting on Titan right now in between all those methane lakes under its atmosphere.
Well, the European Space Agency did for a while, but it's dead now.
Okay. Well, good work there, gentlemen. Let's go to Tuesday and talk about the asterism from hell in the south sky, an easily recognizable one, the teapot. I had that mentioned earlier by, I think, Tom Whittemore said something about it. It's in Sagittarius, formed by 8 stars, and I should be able to pronounce all of these. Zeta, Tau, Sigma, Phi, Lambda, Delta, and Gamma, and Epsilon. That's the strangest fraternity I was ever in. It's Sagittarii.
All of
and-
those except Tau and Phi also have common names, and they're on the finder chart, you can see.
Ron, I thought you were an ITAPA keg.
I was in Phi Beta Kappa, believe it or not, at City College
Oh, way to go.
with Manu Eskandari. You know him. Anyway, Sagittarii, 2 eyes at the end. The teapot is an asterism. It's trying to work its way up and become an official constellation. Oh, we got it on the screen.
Ron,
Yes.
Sagittarius is the constellation. Sagittarii means it belongs to the constellation. So that's why those stars' names are like Phi Sagittarii. Okay,
But where is the teapot in relation to the constellation? Is it part of it?
it is. It makes up most of the constellation.
Okay. Well, now this is interesting because it's going to pour out all its stuff. There'll be probably meteors scattering out of the spout here. Apparently, it's upright as it rises tomorrow night. It'll tip forward, its spout overnight, setting with its handle up and its spout disappearing first at the top of the triangular lid. Well, that's lambda. Is that a word we never hear? Among all
Lambda?
those? Lambda?
No,
Is it?
it's just L in the Greek alphabet.
Agree.
Okay. Occasionally it shows up in a fraternity, Lambda.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Must be
anyway,
the agricultural one.
Yeah.
but all of them have gamma. They have the Sagittarii at the part as a part of it. That means they're part of that lovely.
Well, yeah, it's the possessive case in Latin of Sagittarius.
You've heard of the fraternity Sigma Pi Nothing?
That's a pretty good one, Jerry.
I hadn't heard that. We don't have any Jerry Wilson jokes being sent to us this week, so the captions and that is great. Also, Sigma is known as Nunki, Epsilon, lower. Let's see, lower right. Epsilon is another star called Caus Australis. I'll get it.
Australis.
Australis.
Yeah, there's a
Okay.
missing U in there.
Well, to me
There's
that
supposed to be a U in it?
Yeah,
Or the S, yeah.
Yes,
AUS.
yes.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, it means the southern.
Okay.
it means southern, but is it southern? Is it more visible in Australia?
Yeah.
No, Australia means land in the south, but
I got
Caus. Chuck pointed out a couple of times ago that Caus means the bow, and Caus Australis is the south part of the bow.
I
Caus
see.
Borealis is the northern part of the bow, and Caus Media is the middle of the bow.
Interesting stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Got your work cut out.
Also,
for you.
the Milky Way is the steam coming out of the spout.
Right.
Is that
And
what we're
Tim-
seeing over all of this? Is the
Yeah.
Milky Way?
That's the Milky Way, right?
And Tim just texted, to mention that the center of the Milky Way is right off the arrow there, off of Al Nasl.
Right. Mhm.
What arrow? Point to the arrow with the pointer.
Okay,
Tip of
so
the
Caus,
spout.
Caus, and Caus, those three houses are the bow.
Yeah.
Al Nasl off to the right is the arrow tip, and the arrow goes back to Phi.
Show business is our life. Look at this. Nunki and his orchestra. Okay, that's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. You can comment all you want. Let's go to get these out of the way. We got lots to talk about. Wednesday, the 4th, 2 days from now, asteroid 3 Juno, meaning the third discovered, I guess.
Yep.
Stationary. Third rock discovered. That's right. The 10th largest. It's about 145 miles across. Then the constellation. Here's that word again. Ophiuchus, the 13th of our zodiac signs that gets no respect, sitting slightly above the halfway point of a line drawn between Zeta and Delta Ophiuchii. I'll never get that. Well, anyway, Ophiuchii. I got it. Ophiuchii.
Listening to you pronounce these constellations is definitely worth the price of admission.
Well, I wonder how many people, if you ask them on the street, have you ever heard of Ophiuchus? Are you born under that sign? They'd think you're from Mars. Anyway, Delta Ophiuchii and Zeta are about magnitude 10. Is that right?
Yeah.
And it's 10 arc minutes. Do they say
No.
arc minutes for the single line or
No,
just minutes?
Ron, they can't be magnitude 10. They're visible.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then that's 1 degree. What is that? It looks, I can't read my own writing. 8th magnitude field star, HIP 81153. Are we right on that?
Oh, yeah.
And good old Ophiuchus, I think I was born under that sign.
So anyway, in this picture, you can see 3 asteroids. They're
Wow.
the red spots, and Tom is moving the cursor around to show them.
Okay,
4
Ron,
Vesta,
that
3
magnitude 10 is for Juno.
okay. And must have thrown the ancients into quandary. What the hell's going on with that star?
They didn't see those.
They didn't see those.
Oh, they didn't.
No,
Well, how we got it in a picture? This is through a telescope, then I take it.
No.
No, it just shows location.
yeah, this
Okay.
is a finder chart. It's a schematic. The actual asteroids are not red. They're just made highlighted that way to stand out on this chart.
But
So
the
it shows-
ancients,
Go
the
ahead.
ancients did track the planets when they went on retrograde and went backwards and forwards. Why wouldn't they occasionally hook in on an asteroid? Some of the bigger
They're
ones.
much dimmer, Ron.
They're
They
too
didn't develop-
dim. They're way too dim.
Even
Yeah,
a
I mean, some of them, Ceres and particularly Vesta, you can see naked eye if you know right where to look and you know
Yeah.
when. And Galileo actually, noted the position of the planet Uranus, for example, once on a chart that he made, but he didn't realize they were moving because they're so dim and especially if
Yeah.
they're far out, like the outer planets, they move slowly.
Okay. Well, the one among us is you, Chuck, that really loves the asteroids. Maybe your equipment is right on for honing in on them, and occasionally
No,
you're not getting any words that certain stars are going to blink out in the middle of the night.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
are.
Just haven't been any for a couple of days, but there's one coming up, I think, tomorrow night.
Well, apparently Ophiuchus, shown on the sky here, is home to several bright globular clusters.
Yeah.
Less than 6 degrees northeast of Juno are M10 and M12.
Hmm.
I assume Mr. Messier cataloged those in order, and those were the 10th and 12th. 3.3 degrees apart. M12 is northeast of M10. You drop down 6.8 degrees southwest of the asteroid, you'll run into M107.
Yep.
Can't believe I'm narrating everything that's on the screen. Look at that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this is kind of globular cluster central. I mean, almost without exception, most of these things, this messy objects here, okay, there are exceptions, but they're globular clusters. Okay.
If you have a reasonable field of view and a small telescope and just pointing in the general direction of this part of the sky, it's so target rich, you're going to find something. A nebula,
Yeah.
an open cluster, or a globular cluster.
And this is really summertime is globular cluster central because they orbit in a spherical halo around the core of the galaxy. So there are very few that you can find in winter unless you go really, really dim, but
Right.
quite a few in the summertime.
Yeah, it reminds me of one of the summers I was at CalStar, one of the earlier CalStars, and then Tim Crawford and I stayed up late, and we just hit a whole bundle of these beautiful clusters with my 8-inch telescope. Okay, it was just really fun. Basically at the base of the teapot, we were looking mostly there, but also into Scorpius.
Well, now that big gas cloud, that's not the Milky Way in the lower left. Or
Yes.
it's not a,
Oh, no,
It
it
is.
sure is. In fact, if you look carefully, Ron, do you see that darkness there? Okay, that's the Pipe Nebula. It's just spectacular in the dark sky. It also looks like a little horse galloping from the left up to the right. You know, so some people look at it as a little horse, but it's basically, you know, a dark nebula just hanging in front of this, just all these stars. It's just beautiful.
Tom Totten, the nebula he's talking about is kind of between M6 and M62 there, the Pipe Nebula. You'll see.
That's right. Yeah, thanks, Tom. You can look at it as a pipe. See the pipe? Yeah, that's Tom right there. As the stem of the pipe and the smoke coming out of the pipe going up. But you can also always look at this as a little horse, His bottom legs, and then his top legs are kind of near M19. Yeah.
And I think in Australia, that Pipe Nebula is an emu, you know, with its neck going down to the right and the body is up to the left.
Wow.
Okay.
That's because in the south, it looks upside down to them.
Yeah.
Is that
Now,
right?
you know you're in a dark sky if you can see the pipe with your naked eyes. You're in a good sky.
Are there any major constellations that overlapped our Milky Way and don't get our stars that don't appear as bright as they could if all that was not behind them? Do you know what I'm saying, gentlemen?
Well, look right here. You can see all the constellations on there. Cygnus and Swan is also there. And here you've got Sagittarius and Scorpius and, you know, parts of Serpens Cauda.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but anywhere else you're looking is outside of the arms that go inward to the center of the Milky Way, which is what we're looking at.
The galaxy goes up through into Perseus and Cassiopeia. You know, that's toward the wintertime Milky Way and toward the edge of the galaxy. But everything else above and below is out of our galaxy. That's why Virgo is galaxy central. Because you're not looking. See Virgo off on the far right over there.
Yeah.
You're not looking through the plane of the galaxy anymore, and it's easier to see other galaxies.
Yeah, you're looking out at one of the poles of the galaxy.
And all that nebula color is real life. It's pink, isn't it? Out there. Or no, you're thinking of Orion. I'm thinking of Orion. You said Virgo.
Those are what you see there in the Milky Way is just massive star clouds that are unresolved.
And dust.
And then
and
the
gas
darkness is gas that is blocking some of the light. If the gas weren't there, that would be a solid bulge and a line going up of brightness.
But now we've been mentioning Ophiuchus. Is it on that picture anywhere?
Right
Ophiuchus?
there.
Yeah, that's right there. You can see Tom's giving you the arc on the top there.
And what, is that a 13th zodiac member that didn't have room, or is it above the ecliptic? Or?
Well,
Precession has brought the path of the sun into Ophiuchus. It spends more time in Ophiuchus than it does in Scorpius.
yeah.
Wow.
And Ophiuchus is a serpent bearer, by the way. So he holds on to the serpent.
Is that what the word means in Greek?
Ophiuchus, well, he is the serpent bearer, and the serpent is Serpens. And
Yeah,
Chuck mentioned
the head of the serpent is off. There's where Tom is now, at the head of the serpent. And then the tail is off on the other side of Ophiuchus. Sometimes you'll see that just as one constellation, Serpens, but sometimes you'll see Serpens cauda for the tail and Serpens caput for the head.
for the head, yeah. Mhm.
So Ophiuchus is really an exotic dancer with a snake wrapped around her.
It's actually, I think, supposed to, well, one of the stories is it represents Aesculapius. I'm
That's
probably
correct. Yeah.
screwing up his name, but he's the physician, and he supposedly found a way. They used to think that snakes, because they shed their skins, just could live forever. They were immortal.
Right.
Because they renewed themselves when they shed their skins. And so supposedly he found the snake's secret, and he could make people immortal, and that pissed off the gods. So they popped him up into the sky holding his snake.
Right.
But there's
Aesculapius was, the physician. And you'll see two snakes entwined. I think they're the caduceus, right, Chuck? Caduceus? The two snakes?
One's an Asclepius and one's a caduceus. I can't remember which one has one snake and which one has two.
Okay.
sounds like a new car. I'm going to get a 73 Seducius from the used car lot. Well, gentlemen, that's interesting stuff. You mind if we go to Thursday? We got some other things to talk
Sure.
about. I'm sure we're all card-carrying members of the AAVSO, American Association of Variable Star Observers. Here's
I was.
Were you really? I was making.
Oh,
a
yeah,
joke.
as a kid. Oh, yeah. I froze in the Indiana weather looking at variable stars with my 6-inch scope.
Okay, Cepheid variables is one of them. You gave a talk about that, Whittemore. Yeah, it was a great talk too. But observers of this month's variable, they're going to feature R. Aquilae. Aquilae.
Aquilae.
Aquilae, that's what I said. A mirror type, MIRA, variable star in Cetus the whale.
Mm-hmm.
Stop me anytime you want, gentlemen.
I always thought it was Myra.
Yeah,
Well,
it's Myra.
Well, yeah.
Myra. Okay.
Well, or Jerry, Omicron Ceti. Omicron Ceti is also Myra, which means, like wonderful, spectacular.
Well, the lady's name is spelled with a Y when it's Myra, but M-I-R-A, Mira, but never mind. The Miramati Hotel, I'm sure it has nothing to do with it. Variable star in Cetus the whale. Now, that's another constellation, Cetus?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the sea monster.
Boy, that TomT is awesome. There it is. Such variables are aging red giants, cooler, puffed up versions of their younger selves that appear orange or red. Are Aquilae. What did you say?
Aquilae.
Aquilae. Okay, I got it.
Of the eagle.
Okay, and it sits 5.6 arc seconds, or is that that's a degree? South of Deneb. Al Okab and his orchestra, Australis, Zeta Aquilae. There it is. 4.7 degrees northeast of Alya, which is also known as Theta Serpentis. Got another serpent in this one, right? This is paraphrasing the Thursday night send to us from the president. In Serpens cauda, it's discovered as a variable in 1856. Its full cycle through bright back to dim, decreasing, is 270 days, about what, 2/3 of a year?
Yeah, those are long period variables. Yeah, and the fact, Ron, that it's R, you see it's R Aquilae, that means it was the first variable star that was noted in the constellation of Aquila, the eagle.
Yeah,
R
they start
stands-
with R, not A.
R.
Oh, okay.
R.
Now I know the stuff I learned. I just wish I could keep it. But apparently it's decreasing, and wait a minute, 270 days down from 300. Seems to me that's speeding up.
Yeah.
Goes between magnitude 5.5 to magnitude 12.
Right. So
And
Ron,
it-
note that if it's magnitude 5.5 at its peak, that means you could see it with your eye in a reasonable sky. When it goes down to more than 10, way down there, you can't see it with your eyes. So it'll kind of like appear and then not appear, and appear and then not appear. Okay.
Wow. Well, what does Myra mean? Myra type.
Myra
Well-
is a variable star, one of the first ones discovered, and it means the
Right.
wonderful one.
Right.
Oh,
It's the same.
It's
type
also
of-
known as Omicron Ceti. Okay, Omicron Ceti.
okay. So this is a binary or a multiple a star system?
Oh, no, it's a pulsating variable. It's a
Oh,
big
it's
part.
one- Oh,
Yeah.
well, it's a red giant variable. I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay, gentlemen, there it is. Thank you, Tom Totten. Wrapping up the week on Friday, the 6th, this weekend, going into the weekend. The Delta Aquarian meteor shower, I guess, goes to the south. It peaked on Friday, this past Friday, and now the moon is more favorable for spotting the streaks from its radiant, where it comes from in Aquarius, the water bearer. Sits in the southern sky with a radiant just 2.5 degrees southeast to the lower left of Jupiter. Also, the Perseid is about to happen, or maybe it's starting in a
No,
different part of
it's
the.
starting, yeah.
All right, what do you guys know about these two? There's several meteor showers a year. These two overlap each other, don't they, in August?
A little bit.
Okay. Gives you guys a reason not to have to bring the telescope out. You just go lay on the lawn with your
No,
wife.
I use a chaise lounge.
Well, some of the stuff they're coming out with, the equipment, the GoPro, for example, has the most incredible pictures. I would think they have stuff out that would just show every streak as a bright flash if you left the camera on. And
They have,
Yeah.
they've had all sky cameras for a long time, Ron. where-
Right,
where
but
do
you
exactly
pick up-
that.
You
You have a
pick up a
fisheye
lot of,
lens and you just take pictures all night long, and then you combine them to show all the meteors.
all at once.
but you
like
can't leave it on too long because there's, as Bruce keeps pointing out, there's so much light pollution around here.
Sure, yeah.
You
Oh,
need to do short images, a few minutes or something.
I think Las Cumbres Observatory on their website has a link to an all-sky camera that they have at their facility too.
did you see the recent videos of a couple of really bright ones coming down on Texas last week? You did.
It looked
Was that
like-
part
They
of
look
it?
like bolids,
They look like what?
bolids, BOLIDS.
Well, BOLIDES, bolides.
Okay, bolides, okay.
That's what, refuse from space launches that are coming back to
No,
Earth? Is that-
no.
Oh, no.
These are just big, slow-moving meteoroids. But
Oh,
where I
right.
used to work, they claimed that as evidence that I was a true scientist, that I could never spell anything.
There was just a big one over Norway, over Oslo. And, the people were hearing sonic booms and things. So they knew it was down low in the atmosphere and it had broken up. And
Wow.
it landed in a forest. There's a big forest preserve area near Oslo. And so they're going to have people going out looking for pieces of it. But they figure it'll probably take 10 years to find any pieces because it's such a dense wood area.
Okay.
Has it ever occurred to you that the odds of the big one that took out the dinosaurs 65 million years ago was pretty close to us in our hemisphere? Had we been here, of course. Yucatan, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's caused effects all the way up the current Mississippi area with huge drifts of junk that tsunami type waves pushed up in there.
Is that right? You think the continents looked the same as they do today back at 65 million years ago?
They were a bit different.
No, oh, no, they're different.
We had Pangea then back then, one big
No,
one?
no,
All
No,
right.
no.
not that far
Yucatan.
back.
So anyway, the Perseids are cast off dust and pebbles and debris from Comet Swift-Tuttle.
Mhm.
And the orbit of Comet Swift-Tuttle is what Bruce or Tom is showing on the screen here. It shows it's color coded at the very bottom. So yellow is Uranus, the yellow line, and the comet is the purple line. I think that's purple. And the lines going up and down, that shows the distance from the plane that the rest of the planets go in. Because
Oh, wow.
the comet does not conform to the
Oh, I see.
ecliptic.
It's like Pluto,
Yeah, a little like Pluto, yeah.
little like Pluto, because
Uh-huh.
Pluto is it's tilted, but it's a big round orbit like most of us, right?
It's less eccentric than this comet's orbit.
Is there a name for that kind of an orbit, a comet's orbit? Is it a parabola or a
Ellipse.
ellipse?
It's captured, you know.
Okay, does
So-
anybody know when it visited last? Did it go by us? Is it as
It's
often
what,
as it?
170-year period, something like that?
It
Okay,
says 133-year period.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
didn't capture it here. I've read where it went by again, but it's not here. If you can find the website that has this picture, this static, it's actually a frozen frame from a animation that shows the comet.
Yeah, that's dynamite. That's a
Tom has a
dynamite.
nice one up now that he can tilt and move.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
There you go.
well, now are we looking at the Delta Aquariid or the Perseid here?
This is Percy.
Lieutenant Comet Swift-Tuttle.
This is a comet.
Oh, just the comet, but
Yeah.
the debris that it leaves behind that makes the tail is what we go
Now,
through.
the concept, hold that steady, Tom. The ecliptic
Getting-
that's seen here in the middle, that's where everything is scrunched over each other. And
Right.
then Pluto, I assume this is Pluto's orbit, is the elliptic one that's not in that same plane. Which, and then Comet Swift-Tuttle, you see, is even farther out of the ecliptic plane.
Do the comets come from the Kuiper Belt or from the Oort Cloud?
Probably
I guess
both.
the answer to that is yes.
Yeah.
But the Oort Cloud is a shell, but whereas Kuiper Belt is just like the planets or the asteroids, it's a ring.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Much closer too.
this doesn't look like it would come in from a ring. It looks like it's coming in from outer toward the
Oh,
shell.
the Comet Swift-Tuttle does not go out to the whatever the Oort Cloud.
Oort Cloud.
Yeah. Ron,
It's from
also, these things may originate out there, but when they come into the inner solar system, they can get perturbed by Jupiter. And most of these, what are called short period comets, which is like less than 200 years or something, these have been captured by Jupiter and moved into these newer orbits that they're in now that we see them in. So from the orbit now, it's hard to tell really where they originated.
And what's science's explanation for what pushed them into our solar system anyway in the first place? Why are they
Little
suddenly
nudges from other stars?
other stars?
Yeah, I mean, we're going around the galaxy.
I
We
know, but
occasionally come a little bit closer to other stars.
You've heard the claim that when the dinosaurs, there were dinosaurs on the other edge of the galaxy.
Yeah.
It's because the solar system goes around the galaxy, and 65 million years ago, we were on the other side. Well, we interact with a lot of stars from a distance if we're lucky, and they can perturb things.
And also, these objects can interact with each other. And if you have a case where one loses a little energy, then it's going to fall in.
well, I've also heard that the closest star to us, 4.3 light years away, would take 50,000 years for Voyager to reach. So how in the world does it affect anything that's orbiting us?
To a comet, 50,000 years is nothing.
Yeah.
Does it?
And Ron, these things are so lightly bound gravitationally to the sun that it doesn't take much.
Okay. But have you ever seen, or has science ever noted a comet that didn't make it back, that plunged into the sun?
Oh,
Has that
there's
ever
lots
happened?
of them.
Oh yeah.
There's a
Really?
real big one about 3 or 4 years ago that went around the sun, and they plotted where it was going to be when it came out on the other side of the sun, and it just wasn't there. There was a little puff of cloud behind it because it had completely evaporated in going near the sun.
And there's a whole family of comets called Kreutz sun grazers that people go and watch the SOHO images of the sun, and discover new comets, which don't last much longer because they end up getting evaporated by the sun, but they catch them going in.
It's where
Well,
the game of chicken came from, so maybe it should be called the game of comet.
Well, they're fascinating to think about because something triggers it to suddenly go in, and then it's on that orbit forever, isn't it? Unless it runs into another star's gravity in the
Yeah.
future.
They all
They
get
don't-
perturbed.
They don't go back and just take their place and
Yeah.
start orbiting again like they were in the distance.
When a comet, back in time, when they find historical or positions of a comet, they can estimate where that comet was, and they can plot its trajectory into the future. And they find that it's off quite a bit because it interacted with something. And when we know the orbit of a comet today, we have to keep watching it too, in addition, because it can get perturbed. And near Earth objects can become a threat that weren't considered a threat before.
Near
Comets
Earth.
especially can change their orbit easily because they're puffing off gas, and that's like a little rocket engine.
Right.
But they're out there in those belts or the shells with the dwarf planets like Pluto. Why couldn't a Pluto get nudged out of its orbit and suddenly plunge into the sun by
Well, they're
something?
more massive, they're harder to perturb.
Yeah. It's
Well,
less
it's-
likely.
Oh, only the small guys, thank God for us. Well, look at that. That's
Well, there's this
interesting.
big one coming in that we discussed a couple of weeks ago that's, what, 60 miles across, something like that?
Are those three circles, the green, the red, and the yellow, is that Mercury, Venus, and us?
No, you can see it below, Ron.
What?
Blue is the Earth, green is Jupiter, red is Saturn.
Oh, so we're way down there.
See, the blue is way in the middle there. That's Earth.
I see. I got you. That was probably explained moments ago. Comet Swift. The two gentlemen who found it first were Swift and Tuttle. Now, this has nothing to do with the Perseids, right?
This
That's
is
the
the
other one?
source of the Perseids.
Right.
This is the source of the Perseids.
The Perseids is comet Swift-Tuttle dust.
So what, are we going to be able to see meteors from both of these meteor showers, the Delta Aquariid and the Perseid, only from different directions in the sky?
Maybe.
Maybe.
They're not near their peaks, so it's not going to be a traffic jam.
I don't understand the term radiant much. I mean, I do, but I don't know why, if we're just going through, the whole Earth is going through this trail of debris, of little dinky things that came off the comet. Why wouldn't they just come from everywhere? Why
Well,
do
they're not just sitting still, Ron. They're moving. They have their own orbital velocity around the sun. So it's like a hose. And this is the direction where the spigot of the hose is.
Oh, okay.
Did you ever see that screensaver that was popular back in the 80s, I guess it was, or something, where it's just a bunch of, it looks like you're traveling through stars and they just spread out as they come to you?
Oh, yeah, all
And
the time.
The center of the screen, that was the radiant, where they appear to come from.
Well, it's also a big opening to Star Trek. When they hit warp speed, it goes crazy.
That's always irritated me. You can't, that's not how things look when you go near the speed of light or even faster.
Well, we'll never see that with stars. There's no way you're going to go that fast.
It turns out if you start approaching the speed of light, all the stars in the sky start looking like they're out in front of you. The sky crunches together in the front.
Somehow we know that.
Yes,
Amazing.
it's a junior level relativity problem.
Why do we have Cassiopeia on here? Northeast after
So it's
mid.
showing the radiant.
Oh, that's the radio. That's
Yeah,
okay.
and Cassiopeia is easy to find and Perseus is easy to spot. So
Might the Earth be going that direction at that time of night? Is that possible?
yeah, that's possible. Part of it's our us flying through the storm.
Huh, I hadn't thought of that. I just always assume we're passing these things and seeing them, but that's not
Well,
necessarily.
we're going through them and we're passing them. We have a component of our motion. We may have a component of our motion that is down the stream. Doesn't mean that's our main motion.
Right. And we may be going perpendicular to the stream. So there's multiple motions involved.
Right.
Huh. Do you and your wives ever make a date of it? Just go out and if it's a
We tried
warm-
that a couple times, yeah. One or two of us usually fall asleep.
We were doing it once up on West Camino Cielo, and we just backed into the entrance to the gun club, and we were lying out on the hood, And in the middle of the night, a sheriff's deputy came by and zapped us with his spotlight, and asked us what we were doing. And when we told him we were watching a meteor shower, he immediately shut off his spotlight and he continued down West Camino Cielo. And then eventually he came back and he got on the microphone and said, "Your night vision will return in approximately half an hour."
Yeah.
Great story. Somehow we should put that in the newsletter. Don't you think so, Tom Whittemore? Also, yes, on Jerry's talking points, I don't know if we have time to talk about it. We got about 2 or 3 minutes to make up for being late. Famous movie craters on the half moon at the as the night meets the day line, the Apennine Mountains and the craters Copernicus and Clavius. This was posted, Jerry.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about this. Where do you see them? Is it on the edge of the moon or is it on the edge of the dark?
It's right on the termination.
Clavius. Yeah, that's Clavius there, Ron, in the middle.
Clavius is an interesting crater because you see in the crater, you see an arc of progressively smaller craters. It's a spotting feature.
Right.
When I'm trying to get oriented looking at the moon, I usually look to see if I can spot Clavius.
Yeah.
It's easy to see because of this gentle arc of things that hit it. They may have been flying in formation. This might have been a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Sure.
a 5 double quintet that hit rapidly together. But anyway, this is also of note because this is the crater where they claim to have found the second monolith in the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey.
That's what I was about to ask. That I'd heard that term before, and it had to be in Kubrick's 2001 Clavius. That's where the tall, what the heck did they call it?
Where they excavated it and then they touched it and it made everybody grab their radio phone or their earphones. Out.
Was also emanating some sort of strange radio waves or something, or electromagnetic waves. That's fascinating stuff. Was that named for an emperor by any chance? That sounds like a Roman emperor.
No, they're usually named after scientists.
Yeah.
Oh, Clavius?
Yeah.
Okay, if you say so. Well, anyway, this is what maybe we'll talk about this. The oldest planetary nebula yet seen. We'll talk about it in depth next week. We can talk about it now. I don't know what the name Sharpless means, but it's followed by 2-313, also known as Abel 35.
Those are both catalog names for the astronomers that made them.
Somebody named Abel. It's in Hydra. And it's a very bright star in the center, which is a binary rotating each other so fast that they could tear apart. Tom, you are just awesome as all get out. Wish you could.
It doesn't show it well here in this, but you see there's 2 bright white stars in the middle of it. And around it, there's blue, and you can see that the blue has a shock wave to it off to the right with a point to the right around that rightmost white star.
Right.
So it's got a parabolic arc of gas around it, which is from some kind of stellar wind that is giving it its horizontal component because it's not a spherical shell anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the oldest, to date, it's the oldest known planetary nebula that has been cataloged.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Which is why it's so diffuse. It's just been spreading out.
Yeah.
Well, one of the 2 stars is a white dwarf caused by, the glow is caused by ultraviolet radiation. Are we seeing that on screen?
Yeah, that's the blue.
Okay.
Now, those 2 stars are not the close component. Those are quite far apart. I think the star that's involved is the brightest one in the middle.
All right. You're going to have to explain the term planetary to me. Where do planets come into this?
They don't.
Yeah, they don't. They were being discovered, a lot of them, around the time the planets Uranus and Neptune were discovered, okay? And they'll often have a high component of oxygen emissions, which are greenish, because your eye's more sensitive to green, so they were easier to see. And so because the planets they found were greenish, Uranus and Neptune, and these things were greenish, but they were fuzzy, they called them planetary nebulae, clouds that look like planets.
Wow. Okay. So there are no planets. There may be planets in there, but they're exoplanets we can't see.
Oh, there's planets everywhere. There's
I'm
even
sure
planets without a star.
Okay. Well, can you understand why somebody that's not a hardcore aficionado of cosmology would wonder what the heck is a planetary nebula? You know, we
Yeah.
should have them here around the solar system. Question about colors. When you only get one color, that means that's the only light on the band that is allowed out, blue.
You mean in the extended object like the nebula?
Yes, right.
It's a mechanism of which they emit light. Some light is reflected off of gas and some light is emitted when the gas is excited by other light hitting it.
Okay.
This was a big question with these nebulae, was whether they were stars that, you know, you just couldn't resolve in your telescope, or whether they were gas. And in the 1840s or 1860s, there's a guy named William Huggins who was an amateur in England, and he stuck a spectroscope on his telescope. And he could see that these were giving off emission lines, very pure colors of light. So just only green light, for example, coming from them. Not only, but mostly, you know. So you saw bright lines instead of a continuous emission like a rainbow, like you'd see from stars. And so that's how they learned that these things were actually emission nebulae and not stars.
But in addition to those colors represented on the spectrometer, you have all the elements that might be in that star or that planet or whatever they're looking at. Can you see elements? Hydrogen might be represented by a spike. It's also got some oxygen over here. And
exactly. That's how we figure out what's going on out there.
Does that get affected by the changing colors? You don't get the same.
No. I mean, those are what's causing the colors, Ron.
Oh, I see. Okay. But that's not the end of an old hyper super nova. That's not an exploding.
No, it's
No.
where a low mass star like our sun has kind of burped off its outer layers. It's like a low level explosion.
Boy, I tell you, I learn a lot. Gentlemen, we run out of time. But,
Okay.
Number 23 is now history. We did it. Number 23 behind us. Enjoy your evening skies, just not down here, and stay safe and get ready for your third shot. Some of us later on, perhaps, maybe we'll meet again. We certainly will online next Monday. Fair enough, gentlemen?
Yep.
All
That's
right,
great.
just
Thank you,
want
Ron.
to say thanks to Tim and Jim Williams for tuning in on the chat screen today on YouTube.
All right, we got to figure out a way to get them on with us somehow. You know, we can accommodate more, I think. Whoops. Am I gone?
No.
Nope, we're still here.
I'm not sure how to phase out here. Now, let me see if I can get.
Tom will take care of phasing it all out.
You'll
See-
Tom will kick you off.